how's it going, guys? My name is Zach with The Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Monsters. This is Season 2. Basically, on this channel, I've been watching and doing individual reviews for every single episode of Monsters, and I just finished off the whole second season, so I figured I'd take my thoughts on the whole thing and compile them together here in one place. But first, some basic information. This season ran for 24 episodes from October 1st, 1989 to June 3rd, 1990. The show was created by Richard P. Rubenstein and Mitchell Galin, and the gist of the show is that a lot of the people who worked on Tales from the Dark Side went over to Monsters to make another Anthology Horror TV show. And since it's Anthology Horror, all the episodes are their own unique stories, but the caveat with Monsters is that every episode will have some form of a monster, so that's always an interesting pitch to it. However, I will say, this season was a bit of a step down from Season 1, and it's the usual culprits. If you guys know Anthology Horror, you know the gist of the three big evils that come about with it. One, being super cliched and reusing old plot points. Two, being relatively cheap and being noticeable in your cheapness. And three, humor. Oh, you do not want a funny episode of a show like this. But I guess I should elaborate on those points. How about in regards to the clichédness first? You get the anthology horror tropes. You know, learning a lesson like be careful what you wish for and being appreciative of what you have. I mean, that's exemplified in, say, The Bargain. And, you know, greedy jerks getting their comeuppance. You can think of something like Love Hurts, where it's this couple who is cheating and one of them's a witch and she's going to overestimate her witchly powers. Or The Mandrake Root, where this woman just for no reason falls instantly in love with this plant monster in her basement's going to cheat on her husband. And for real, when you get something fun that really plays in these tropes, you know, like Creepshow, the original movie, you know, it can be fun, but when it doesn't change it enough, and when the cliches are a little too on the nose, and when you get to the point where you feel like you've seen it before, that can really hurt. And there was a little bit too much of that. And the cheapness, yeah, a lot of that is you get bottle episodes, which in general I don't mind. If you're creative and you can come up with a story that only takes place in one room, then that's good. But you get to see so many of these over and over where it's like, here's another one set thing, and when it crosses that line from being creative into being distracting, I mean like the episode Museum Hearts, where it's literally just a bunch of unpainted flats because we're in a museum between shows, you know? It gets noticeable. In this episode, as well as like a lot of other ones, you really can't help but notice the budget. And oh boy, that humor. And okay, some people are going to like cheesy old school humor. Really not for me. One of my least favorite episodes this whole season was entitled The Demons, and it's goofy, wacky people in funny makeup dancing around and making funny noises. It was so annoying. Although that being said, if you're fans of Eddie Deason, he does appear in that episode. And also, if you're fans of Soupy Sales, you might like The Farmer's Daughter, where this old guy has apparently never seen a woman before and falls instantly in love with an obvious trap. And so many times the humor makes me groan. I don't think it's funny enough, but also it's not really what I'm here for. And I want the show to be scarier and I want it to be better. And when you get just a line of mediocre to bad episodes, I mean, I think there's a string of like 4 or 5 of them somewhere in the middle, you start to go, come on, I know this show can be scarier and I know it can be better. And the thing is, a lot of the episodes that are bad are just kind of middle of the road okay. They're not terrible, but they just kind of pile up after a while. But again, not terrible is not terrible. It's not the worst thing ever. It's just I wish so many of these episodes were better, but I don't want to harp on that too long because I worry just even right now that I've been complaining a little bit too much. I do want to say there was a flood of okay episodes this time around, but looking back on the episodes, there was a string of highlights and definitely some good ones to remember for this season. So let's look at the highlights. If you guys like good special effects, like I said, a lot of this show is really cheap, but then we get randomly 2 episodes that have really good effects. You get one entitled A Bond of Silk, which is a really cool stop-motion spider episode. Outside of the stop-motion spider, the guy being comically stupid was a little frustrating, but it did end in a really cool sequence, and it had one of the cooler creatures in the series. Also with special effects, check out Perchance to Dream, where the characters have to go into the dream world to find out why this guy can't sleep and why his dreams are invading reality. For real, that one must have just took the whole show's budget or something. I don't know why I'm watching so many cheap episodes and then we get to a Nightmare on Elm Street episode. That one was crazy. I should also mention a few other celebrity guests. While Bed and Boar isn't the best episode, we do get Steve Buscemi in it. He's a sleazy salesman staying at a hotel who is, again, going to fall for a woman who's an obvious trap, but who cares? Steve Buscemi's in Monsters. We also get to have a bit of fun with the Stillers, Jerry Stiller and Maria, and their daughter Amy Stiller, are in the episode One Wolf's Family. And while it may be a little hard to root for protagonists that are actively eating people, we have writing by Batman legend Paul Dini here, and it's a werewolf sitcom. It's pretty funny if you can get past the whole murder element to the script. And hey, who doesn't want to hang out with the Stillers? We also have Deborah Hill, who was a producer and writer that worked with John Carpenter. She actually directed an episode entitled Far Below, and that's a really cool episode about some underground monsters in the subway and kind of the government conspiracy to cover them up. One of the best episodes of the season. Check out that one. But also we have some stories adapted by really good writers. We get the episode Reaper, adapted from a Robert Bloch story. Robert Bloch, you may know as the writer of the original novel Psycho, and in Reaper, it's a guy making a deal with the Grim Reaper to prolong his life by arranging the deaths of other people. And it has a pretty fun ending as well, and who doesn't love a Grim Reaper story? But probably the best episode of the whole season would have to be The Offering, adapted from a short story by Dan Simmons, who you may know for Hyperion, Drood, and The Tear. But this one, you get a guy who, after a near-death experience, can see these invisible monsters and finds out that cancer is a conspiracy, and the monsters are like growing their food inside of people. They're cancer vampires. It's a weird and bizarre and dark episode. Honestly, it's got to be the best one. And I guess if you guys want my really quick highlights for top 5 of the season, I would have to say One Wolf's Family just for the Stillers, Far Below, really good creepy atmosphere, then Perchance to Dream, the Nightmare on Elm Street one, then Reaper, and Offering would have to be number 1. Those are all really good, check them out, but again note that they're all on the horror side and not those comedy episodes. And I hope I didn't just spend this whole episode ranting, because like I said, when the show is good, and especially like the highlights of this season, it gets to be really good. It's just there was a sudden wave of okayness, cheapness, clichéness, and humor that just kind of swept in this season, and I couldn't help but feel like I was watching a bunch of okay episodes back to back and just knowing this show could be better. The highlights still hit really hard, and I would definitely recommend checking out those 5 that I just mentioned. But again, go into this season knowing that it's a little cheaper and not quite as good put together, but I haven't watched season 3 yet. here's hoping that the show gets its footing back for the final season. Fingers crossed, at least. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. If you guys want to hear me talk more about this show, I'll put a relevant playlist on the bottom, and you can see my review for Season 1, as well as individual episode reviews for the first 2 seasons. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist here. Have a good day now.